Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is able to hear me clearly. Welcome to day three of Eduverse. I'm absolutely thrilled to have all of you here today. For those of you who've just joined us, a very, very warm welcome to this incredible gathering of educators and school leaders from around the globe. My name is Anu Chatwal, and I'm going to be your host today. I'm a senior manager at Firki, and my work revolves around designing learning programs, workshops, and other content for school leaders and teacher mentors. At Firki, we're deeply committed to enhancing teacher capacity and leadership in schools. Personally, I'm incredibly passionate about school leadership, how it can inspire innovation, cultivate collaboration, and most importantly, drive amazing professional development for teachers. I'm so excited to dive into all of these ideas with you today. Now, I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to some of my amazing teammates who have co created today's incredible agenda with me. They'll be helping us navigate the entire conference today from 5 to 8, and they'll help us make today an engaging and insightful experience. So, let's start with Deepika. Deepika, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I am Deepika from the School Leader and Teacher Coaches Vertical at Firki. And I'm really excited for today. And I think one thing that really inspires me working at Firki is that we're constantly evolving and adapting to empower our educators and school leaders. And I think with innovative tools and strategies so that they can access transformative learning experiences anytime, everywhere. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deepika. Over to you, Shruti.
Thanks, Anu. Thanks, Deepika. And just a warm welcome to everyone once again. I am Shruti and I work at Simple Education Foundation. I'm an associate director of programs here. I've been working in different schools set up since a very long time now. And school leadership has been my passion piece. I love working with educators, especially school leaders, because I feel they are the drivers and co creators of school culture. And that is something that extends to the learning of children as well. So that's why this brings me here. Yeah. Thank you.
Deeply resonate with that, Shruti. And last but not the least, Tasneem. Go ahead and share a little bit about yourself. Tasneem, you're on mute. We're not able to hear you, Tasneem. Uh, oh, I suppose there's a technical glitch, but that's all right. I can introduce Tasneem. So, Tasneem is our teammate and a really, really important member of our school leaders and teacher coaches vertical at Firki. She designs and leads implementations of all our programs and courses and webinars. And she was a program manager before with Teach for India and contributes immensely to the coaching and mentoring space at Firki. Welcome, Tasneem, Deepika, and Shruti. Thank you so much for joining us today and introducing yourselves. And just a note for the audience that everything that you will see curated today is the brainchild of all the people you see on your screen right now. We've co-created this amazing conference for you, so have lots of fun. Thanks again, guys, for saying a quick hello to everybody. We will now move ahead with the agenda. If we can have the presentation, please. Yeah. All right. So you've met the team, and I thought that we could start the day with a quick recap of what happened on day one and day two. So, on day one, we explored innovations in teacher professional development, focusing on upskilling educators for evolving educational landscapes. There were discussions highlighting experiential learning, a lot of talk around holistic education and the integration of technology in training to enhance teacher competencies. We also delved into collaborative approaches and the role of spirituality and personal purpose in creating meaningful learning experiences. On day two, yesterday, we jumped right into the guiding principles over rigid prescriptions, empowering teachers to innovate and lead with clarity. We highlighted the value of amplifying teacher voices to co create impactful professional development and explored how prioritizing teacher well being alongside advancement in neuroscience and AI can revolutionize teaching and learning for sustainable success. Um, yeah, so that's what happened on day one and day two. And with that, we have a small activity for everyone here today. We're going to do a little bit of a warm up so that we are in the right frame of mind to start thinking about school leadership. So, I want everyone to read this very important question on screen and share your responses on the live chat. Why is it important for a school leader to drive innovation in teaching and learning in schools and operate with a mindset to invest in the learning and development of the teachers that they work with? I'll repeat once again. Why is it important for a school leader to drive innovation in teaching and learning in schools and operate with a mindset to invest in the learning and development of the teachers that they work with? I'm going to wait for a few seconds for people to share their comments on live chat, and I'm going to read a few responses as and when they come up. So let's read some interesting responses. Just think about yourself and why you feel that learning and development is really essential for teachers, and the role that a school leader has to play in all of this. All right, as we wait for some responses, we'll move ahead, and as and when the responses start coming in, I'll read some of them. Okay. So today's agenda is around, like I said, school leadership, and we'll begin with the leadership spotlight. An inspiring talk by Kaisa Isotalo, who we'll meet shortly. We'll also deep dive into innovation stories. We have 3 innovation stories by 3 different school leaders who will share their best practices and their learnings and expertise with us. We also have an interesting panel discussion with 3 school leaders. Next up, we have data driven goal setting, and we'll learn how to innovate and work with data for strategy. We also have a space for teacher well being and how to make sure that school leaders discuss this very, very important topic and design a culture of well being in schools. Oh, there you go. We have some responses on chat now. So Jeshri says that for effective leadership, consistency is imperative with respect to being an agile learner. Thanks for sharing. As ma'am said, school leaders are the drivers of cultural setup in a learning environment, which ultimately will help kids become innovative. Thanks, Sandhya, for sharing that beautiful response. Bhupinder says that in the changing scenario, innovation is required for student development as per the needs. Yes, keep those responses coming in. I would love for everyone to share their thoughts And I think I really truly believe in the power of collective learning. So, as in when you share, more people will read, and collectively we'll all walk away with a lot more takeaways to one person hearing and this being a monologue. So, keep those responses coming in. All right. With that, I actually hand it over to Shruti, my co facilitator, and she will take us through the next segment of this opening. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you, Anu. That was a beautiful just welcome to the space and what today is going to be about. And I was reading alongside you on chat just things about being agile learners, just having consistency in leadership, teachers learning from students. These were things that I picked up on. And just, I would love to read this quote, which is here on screen, that great school leaders constantly pay attention. They confront mediocre teaching, they invite, they inspire, they support families, students, and school staff in ways that lead to improvement. They want to be trusted, not simply liked. And I'm just going to let this sit for 5 seconds with all of you who are here with us today. As we take this pause, we can share our thoughts on chat, think about the role of school leadership, and I would like to move forward from here. And there's another fun thing coming up for all of you. We've been talking about school leadership. Many of you who would have joined us today might be school leaders or working closely with school leaders. And we had this discussion in the beginning about school leaders being drivers of change, being the pillars, motivating others, enhancing the culture and learning. So, I have a fun question for all of you again. Think about the role of a school leader and write any one word on chat that describes for you what an excellent school leader is. And there are no right or wrong answers, whatever comes to your mind. As I think of an excellent school leader, something about being trustworthy comes to me, being a motivator, being a co creator. These are words that come to my mind. Yeah, transformative, understanding. There's a lot of understanding that has come up on chat, collaboration, being a game changer, sense of possibility. And these are all the amazing things that we imagine excellent school leaders as. Yeah, support system, being inspiring, being an innovator, visionary. Yeah, and the chat is just flooding with some of these responses. And with that, I'm also going to take a moment and we can stop screen sharing at this point of time. And this brings me to, if you remember, Anu had shared the agenda with us. And I'm going to invite our first speaker. She's here with us from Finland. Kaisa is here with us. She's an
Hello.
educator, researcher, mentor, and she's had a career spanning 24 years as a school principal. She only retired last year and has made a lot of significant contributions to educational leadership, innovation, the master's degree in education, and a PhD from the University of Jyväskylä. And there's something very interesting her research was on, which was pedagogical synchronizing, and we'll hear a little bit more about that today. For me, I met Kaisa in 2022. She was my mentor and coach as well. And something that I've taken back from her is just that learning never stops. We can be a learner through life. And she has a dialogue based approach, which I truly, truly cherish. So, thank you, Kaisa, for joining us today. Warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Shruti, for inviting me. Greetings to everybody from Finnish winter. It has been snowing today. I feel so honored that I can be with you today because you are the most important leaders in the world, because you are educating next generation. So you are all heroes, and I'm just one grandma here talking to you. But in that project that Shruti told me, told you just a minute ago, I learned something from you friends in India. I learned that every single time once you gather together to think about something, to create something new, you need to meditate a little bit, make a stop, clear your mind so that you are ready for a new connection with people. And I've used that ever since we met in that project. And now I would like you, Shruti, to share the flowers. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we can have screen here. Okay, over to you, Kaisa.
thank you. So think of something that really inspires you in nature. Just take close your eyes and think. This picture comes from my summer cottage. And for me, nature is the most inspiring environment I could ever think. And so this also reminds me about my students because as an inspiration for my leaders work for the last 3 years of my principal work, I took a class of my own. In Finland, principals do teach. Our thinking is based on the fact that once you are close to the students, you lead the school in the right direction because you know what's happening, what's going on. So I did take a class on my own for the last 3 years, and I love those kids. And we did made a project about nature, the 3 year project with that class, and I'm gonna tell something about it later. Anyway, we did take pictures of our 4 seasons here in Finland, and those pictures really inspire me every time once I'm talking to any educators. So back to the nature brings joy to our work every day, even if we are working in an office. And the first thing to learn in this, what I would like you to bring with you to home is that whatever you deal in your work, make it inspiring to your work, to yourself. Do things that really inspire you with your students. So for me, it has been nature. We can go to the agenda, Shruti. So today, what we are going to study is, first of all, why is it important to have this kind of conversation? Although I'm not in dialogue with you, I would love to be, but that's probably not possible. Anyway, so why is it important for leaders from different part of the world to uh, share ideas together, work together, and how we could do it? Then we all are, we all, the educational leaders, our role in this society is to be change agents. And all change agents are passionate learners. So we will deal a little bit about what do we need to succeed in that task. Then something comes from the science, something from networking. We need to seek the answers, and the answers might be already present inside of us, but we need to find them, and we find those by dialogue. Then the last thing we are dealing today is how to inspire and motivate all educators to study more, to learn more. Since I know that in every school all over the world, the teachers have a hard task, and they might feel sometimes that I don't have time and I don't have the effort to study more. But once you study more, you'll get inspired, and then your work is not going to be a burden. It's going to be fun. So how to keep a positive spirit in your professional path? Okay, so we go on. So the first thing to kind of deal is that we as educators do compose a better world together. And we know that our world is facing hard, severe problems nowadays. So the mega trends are telling that ecological, economical, social, and cultural problems are increasing if we are not going to make a change. So we have to work for the sustainable future all together, all over the world. UN Agenda 2030 is something, it's kind of a promise for our young people that we will try to change the world together. So the scientists have made this picture, and it kind of shows us clearly how we think the world is. We hope that the future would look like the yellow spot there in that tube. So our mind is so narrow that we think that if we hope this is going to happen. The scientists have a narrow mind, a narrow picture of the future too. They think that according to the facts, the probable future looks like their tube. They also know that there are some credible things that, according to all the facts, they might happen, and so they widen the scenery to the future. But then the outer circle in this tube shows that there are some probably incredible bad things happening, and all kinds of disasters can happen. We all know COVID, we know wars, we know the natural disasters that have happened, taken places. So we cannot predict how the future looks like, but we know that we have to take big steps to make it better. And that's a promise from us as educators and even grandparents to our younger generation. So there is the need why we all should work together. And the next one, Shruti. So tomorrow's leaders are in our classrooms today. So we should form our education in such a way that they get to start to be leaders in schools. So how do we do that? We'll have to take them with us to school leadership. And that means really that the students' ideas should take into account. And one method I've used in my principals work was that every time we would have a steering group meeting, so I had the agenda for that meeting, and before the meeting, I did have a meeting with my student body or representatives of that student body, and we did go through the agenda together. What kind of ideas did they have to those facts that we had to deal with the adults? They were not in those meetings because those meetings were so long that I didn't want to bore them out, but they got to say their ideas anyway. And so that way that they get to know that they are taking their ideas are taken seriously, and they really mean something in the school, and some changes are made because of their ideas. They get to feel what is leadership. So I wish that this way of working would be present in all schools. Students are owners of the school in a way. Well, the next one. So our challenge is to bring hope to this world. And not only as a word, it has to be some actions. And nobody cares what you know unless they know that you care. And that's what we have to express the students, that they really are meaningful actors in the school. So we have to have that close connection. And this picture here is done by one of my students from my own class. We had one nature project with the class, and Lena brought she was a ninth grader that by that time, so she brought that heart to me, and I thought it was so cute. That kind of expresses our shared feelings to that class and that friendship we did build during those 3 years. She made my day. Well, anyway, so um, how to kind of bring the hope. So everybody has to have the feeling that they are needed in the school and in our society. They have a place there, and all the teaching, all the activities in the school should be made in a team way, team-based learning methods. And as you have made this seminar, you've been working as a good team, so that should take place in every school too. Of course, some facts don't change, that the basic skills are important, but then there is a limit how much individual needs we can meet in the school and how much we are still teaching groups. So best learning method might be that you teach something to somebody, and so we can use that in classrooms. Students get a chance to use the best possible learning method. They win once they teach their peers, and so that way it's a win-win situation. The best possible learning method, teach. Then we have to build a culture of trust, and quality is keeping your promises. So that's what we as educators have to do, keep our promises. I like the saying that under promise and over deliver. That policy works with the students too. Well, then the next one, please. I strongly do believe that if our emotions towards school are positive, it means leaders, educators, teachers, students, all of us, once we feel that school is something good, so then we'll succeed. Happy students succeed in their studies, and happy teachers do their work in a good humor. And so everybody knows that once everybody knows that somebody cares in school, they want to learn. And here I have a story. I don't know if I have time, but I'll tell it. My friend principal came to a funeral of my relative this fall, and he's over 50 now. He brought this rose to my relative's grave, and I asked him that what is the story behind this, because I didn't know that he knew my relative. And he said that, well, Kaisa, once I was young, I was on a wrong path, totally wrong path, because so many things, that really sad things that happened in his life. And after one lesson, this man, this teacher, language teacher, told him that, Tuukka, please stay here. I have a word for you. And he said that if you stop goofing around and you just start studying, and you'll change your whole life by that. There's so much there's so much in you that you can be whatever you want if you just stop goofing around. And he did believe the words of that teacher. And I asked why, what was the difference? So Tuukka said, well, the first time in his life he felt that that teacher really meant what he said. And so now Tuukka is a principal of our hospital school. So it's really meaningful how we how we work with other people. Okay, then the next one, Shruti, please. Teachers and educational leaders have to be urgent. They have to just love trying to find new ways to teach and how to solve the problems of their work. And so that's why you are here today. You are examples. We all are examples for our students, for our colleagues, for the society. So the only way we can cope with this modern world is to study all the time, and it is fun. So we can take further education courses surely, but I think that the most important thing is that we get encouragement from our colleagues, from our students, from our family to study, to do the things that we know that are correct and right, and try to find new solutions. By encouragement, we'll want to take the effort and we will be thrilled to learn. And so then again, once you take part in this kind of courses, you always might feel that, well, this doesn't cope with my work exactly. Well, that's fact, because nobody knows your work as well as you do. So you need to modify. You know what the circumstances are, so you modify all the ideas, and you'll find the better ones. You are stars. You can do it. Then the next one, please. There are millions of learning paths in this world, and so once you have a goal, you'll find a path how to reach it, and not by yourself, but with your friends, with a little help from your family, from your colleagues. But anyway, some courses are fine, but experimental learning is in my thinking, it's the best way to learn. Once you face a problem, you'll try to find a new solution. Like well, an example from my class is that this class I had for 3 years. So I did make as a principal a class of 7th graders, so that they were brilliant learners and 5 students that have severe learning problems, plus an immigrant, that just one immigrant and who didn't have any language skills of Finnish. So I thought that the social skills are the key thing for them to learn, because we could use then that students are teaching their friends and so on, all those methods that I felt were important. But how could I do that as a principal, because I didn't teach them? So I need to just think, I didn't have any classes for the any lessons for the class. I was their mother in a way in the school. So I did build a program for 3 years about evening classes, so that we had 4 times a year some evening activity with the class. I could do that, but I couldn't work with them during the school day because I had other duties by that time and they had their lessons. But so we used 4 evenings each school year by doing games, hiking, canoeing, baking, going to movies, whatever. They they got to choose, but they had all those evenings had something to do with the nature. We even had an exchange program with Estonia, the class in Estonia on our last year. And so by doing that, I did learn so much about how young people, about the well-being of young people in this world. And they all did pass our school, although they had some of them had those severe learning problems. So that's one example, making something possible that seemed to be impossible. So there's always a way once you know that what you are looking for. Well, the next one. And there's no upper limit to learning. I'm an eager learner still. So as a pensioner, I have done this year, I've done environmental studies, creative writing, strategic management courses, and I'm starting a community development distance learns project in January. So once you are a professional, there's always some way you can use your know-how in this society to build a better world, and you should keep studying, finding new solutions, never give up. And the next one, this is from my dissertation, and that tells about the pedagogical synchronizing. So once principles are I did study the hard decisions, those ones that junior high principals feel really hard to make. So they are always ethical dilemmas. There is a time limit. The circumstances are unique. There are limited resources. There is not ready-made rule for how to make that decision. And still, all the time, the school routine has to go on. And so, how to make that kind of decisions? There is not any better advice than to listen, to take time and listen to your heart, because they are all ethical dilemmas. Some examples of those decisions would be some problems with your staff members, a sudden change your school needs, some justice and equality problems with the decision, or the worst, the ones that really hurt, are the ones that you have made a mistake yourself. You feel guilty, you feel shame, you feel anger. And those ones we know we can protect. We can have the ethical rules so deeply inside of us that we don't do that kind of mistakes. So the hard ones that really come from because of our work, somebody else causes them. Those are the ones that we can deal with, but the ones that we cause ourselves are really hard. Then we need help from many sources. Well, probably that's enough for that in this. So when there is a need, there will be the way. How to motivate teachers and educators. Raising the motivation is really important even for adults. And I love this mathematical sentence. Motivation is equal to what you get if you multiply the benefit you'll get by reaching the goal by the belief in success. So you'll have to dream and inspire. Why is this important? Why? What is the goal? What is the vision that we will be reaching by studying more? And then you have to believe in success. So the question is, if not you, so who? I'm sure good educators will take the step, because we are working with the best ones, aren't we, in our school? And so it has to be fun. We have to like the things that we work with, and so by motivation will make it fun, whatever it is that we need to learn. And how to make it fun is to do it together. I like this verse: creative ideas are not born in one brain but between the brains. So together it'll be fun. And then Shruti asked me to give you one method I've used. So there is this one. Good questions are always a good method. So once I got new teachers in my school, after about 1 month's works, I asked them always, tell me 3 things we should change in this school and how. And tell me 3 things we should not change in this school and why. And then I did state the same questions for all those teachers that left my school. And those were so good conversations and so many good ideas came from those discussions, those dialogues. So I think that's a win-win situation always. Then the next one. Well, you know that everybody wants to ride a winning horse. So it's really important for all of us to kind of celebrate all those little winnings we have during the path. Individual winnings, but the team, once the team succeeds or the whole school succeeds, we all can can kind of join the joy, and so we need to celebrate. So we'll be proud of our work. And the next one. Yes, isn't it great to be a professional on this field? I think that I have stars there listening to me today, and I wish that you want to shine. Well, the next one. So we'll use lessons from the history, reality facts of the modern world, and we'll have and share a student-based vision of the future, and we'll find a way to build that to be hopeful future, not the incredible one. Enthusiasm, shared moments, and happiness to all your learning paths. And I wish you have a really inspiring conference day today. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kaisa. I'm taking back so much from this conversation that we had. Like how you started with just, the world is changing. There are so many things happening in the world, and the role of school leaders just becomes even more important. And then you moved on to also certain examples from your own life, your own practice, and how you focused on the relationship with the students or the children that you were working with. And that was just a beautiful moment for me to also think about. There was so much of human centeredness, love, collaboration in this entire conversation. I am feeling very inspired, and I hope that everyone here is also feeling as inspired to be a part of this conference. Thank you, Kaisa, once again, from
Yeah.
bringing in the whole global perspective to the role of a school leader, to the role of a teacher, and what, as school leaders, we can do meaningfully. I saw a lot of things on chat as well. Hope was something that stayed with so many people, like why hope is needed in today's world and how we can bring that for our children. With that,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank
And have
you.
a great.
Thank you.
Amazing. I think the chat is buzzing and we can just keep going on with the chat. Please keep sharing your thoughts. With that, we'll also invite our next speaker. Our next speaker is Aditya Chaudhary, sir. I'll give a little bit of uh, an introduction for him. He's the Dean Academics of Innovation and Internationalism at Sunbeam Group. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and
Thank you. Thank you.
we are very glad to have you here. So for the audience here, Aditya sir has over 2 decades of experience in education, serving as the dean, and he's led a lot of professional development and empowerment initiatives. He's also a certified value-based educator and a global competency counselor, and he's represented India at international forums like Oxford and Dubai. And fun fact is that he's guided 300 plus educators and also impacts 500 teachers annually at Sunbeam Group. He's also been a part of TIS, FIRKI, and other global institutions. And something that I also got to learn about Aditya sir was that he's a lifelong learner. And that's what his session is going to be about today, how to be a continuous learner. And with that, sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shruti. Good evening and Jai Hind from Varanasi. And it's a pleasure and a privilege to be back on a platform which I have had the privilege of being associated with almost 3 years now. And there has been great learning, and I have had some amazing experiences on this platform. So, with that, it's very interesting that I speak about how can a school leader be a pedagogical leader. So we have zeroed down on that word pedagogical leader. And what I'm sharing with you is my experiences, is my learning at Sunbeam and the 24 schools that we have. I'll give you an anecdote. It may be a very cliched anecdote, but I think it gives enough of emphasis on the importance of a school leader and a school leader who is a pedagogical leader. So we have had these two schools, for example, now out of which both the schools are not doing well. The promoters, the management is not happy with both the schools. There's something going wrong. So in one school, the management decides to make massive changes in the teaching force. They bring in a lot of new teachers. The leader remains the same. In the other school, the teachers remain, the leader is changed. So now a lot of water flows, and almost a year and a half later, there is an audit, there is an assessment, there's a feedback. And lo and behold, what do we find? We find that in the school where the teachers were changed and the leaders remain, the school is still at its place, not doing well. In the school where we changed the leader, teacher remaining the same, the results have been very, very encouraging. That, dear friends, goes to show the importance of a school leader. It is not infrastructure, it is not resources, it is the sheer vision of a school leader that actually runs a school. A major chunk of a school success depends upon the vision and the pedagogical capacity of the school leader. Now, if I can go to the next slide, it's very important for us to understand that as a school leader, we draw power. We have a chair, we have an office, we draw power. But we draw power most of from the administrative responsibility. Hiring, firing, if I may use those words, powerful words, admission. But can all of us who are part of school leadership echelons at any stage, can I in good conscience refer to myself as an instructional leader in my school? Administrative leadership is the easiest leadership profile of a school leader. It's the pedagogical or the instructional leadership which brings out the best in me, which pushes me to dwell deep. And that's where I open up myself to the entire school faculty. And if I am good, I'm respected. If I am not, my chair is respected. I often see school leaders sharing, oh, I am on a continuous round. Are you on a continuous round just because you want to show you are there? But I'm sorry, visiting a classroom or walking through the corridor and having a look through the door is not enough. You need to go inside the classroom. You need to get a pulse of what is happening inside the classroom. You need to observe and give feedback. Are observations and feedbacks good words in your school? Are observations and feedbacks associated with improvement, or are they associated with fault finding? If it is with fault finding, I'm sorry, it's not going anywhere. But if it is associated by one and all with improvement, because when you take an observation, you give some solid improvement strategies, and lo and behold, next day the teacher goes into the class and that class is fantastic. Your respect grows up because it was your suggestion. So very, very important. Moving on to the next slide. My day is over at the end of the school. That can never be the case. Your day starts when the school gets over. Because I'm sure on your table you have data. You have various assessment means about how your school is doing, not necessarily quantitatively, but qualitatively. And you have to go through that data to actually find out how your school is doing, which areas needs your intervention, which need areas need expert intervention, training. How do you decide on who is coming to train your teachers or what kind of training is required? It is only that data. One of the last 2 points that I need to mention is a school leader, a pedagogical leader, needs to know the Goldilocks principle. I'm sure you all have heard the story of the Goldilocks. It is when you give a feedback or when you expect something, it is neither too hot nor too cold. That is, you need to put in peg your expectations at the eligibility of the teacher. You should know he is here, you expect him to be here by the next time around. But if he is here, you need to push him slightly. If he is here and you push him over here, he'll fall flat. There will be discontentment. There will be drop in self-esteem. Similarly, if there is someone talented and your expectation for him is only this much, it's not adding value to the system. You know he's capable of more. What will make him put more effort and bring more into the system? Appreciation, praise, more, a little bit of more power, more autonomy. So Goldilocks principle is absolutely important. And I'll end with what I started with. Administrative leadership is important. I am not at all negating its importance. But can school leaders not build an administrative leadership team which dwells with the routine administrative job profile so that you are given the time and space not just to individually grow. There is no substitution to continuous learning. You have to continuously learn because that is when you will put in a right example to your teachers and say, look, here am I, right? So build your administrative leadership team. Spend time as a pedagogical leader. Spend time to envision the next role, the next path that your school needs to grow. Do not be over ambitious. Moderate the change in a way that your system accepts that change. Do not try to push in too early. And again, I will end with the first statement that I had on my slide. Every day, ask yourself this question that am I in good conscience an pedagogical or an instructional leader? What percentage of my time every day do I spend in improving my teaching learning delivery in the school? And how am I pushing my teachers to live to the vision that I have of the school? With this, I rest my case. Once again, it was an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be part of this gathering. I just shared everything that I have accrued in the way, in the classroom, in the corridors of my school, Sunbeam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aditya sir. And I'm walking away, and I'll invite the audience to also think of this powerful question. How much time do you spend with your teachers as a pedagogical leader? It's a very powerful question, sir. Thank you so much for closing with that and your stories and just actually bringing all of this to us in 5 minutes was an amazing experience for me as well. And I'm just also making a connection to what Kaisa shared about spending time with children in classrooms, how you're also sharing about knowing your teachers, knowing who's motivated, knowing their strengths as well. And thank you so much for bringing that to us.
Absolutely. Please do not treat everyone with the same stick.
Thank you so much. I hope the audience is having a great time because I definitely am. And we're also going to move into an amazing panel at this point of time. We have a diverse set of school leaders joining us today, and they'll be sharing stories from their school. I would like to invite all of them here. Amazing. I can see everybody on screen. A very warm welcome to all of you. And hi, Anu, again. Good to see you. Very, very warm welcome to Sudhir, Mridul, and Shilpi here with us. I'm going to do a very quick introduction and then I'm actually just going to go away for some time. So, just to introduce everyone here, Shilpi Sood Gill, she's a principal at St. Kabir Public School. And at the age of 32, she became the school head. That's what I got to know. I was so inspired by that. And she has been a lifelong learner. She holds 15 certifications from institutions like Harvard, IIM, and TIS. And she's a believer in holistic education. She integrates reading, meditation, and arts to nurture our students. And a lot of her writings have also been featured in different places. So, very warm welcome to you. With that, I will move to Sudhir. Sudhir is the president of Ashoka Shishu Vihar, a school in Bangalore, and I actually met him at a summit, which was really nice and inspiring to hear his story as well. He actually has expertise in marketing and advertising, and he has like a decade of expertise there. And then there's been a shift for him, and now he's the president of a school. He's done a lot of work in his school as well, and we will hear more about that today. And lastly, I'll move to Mridul. Mridul is the principal of Prakriti School. His journey has been from corporate banking, finding an art collective, and now also leading a school. I recently also had the opportunity to visit his school, and I was inspired by the kind of learning that children experience there. There's so much of curiosity, critical thinking, and personal growth that the learners have. And I was truly inspired to be in that school. So, Mridul A, thank you for the visit and just thank you for being here. Yeah, once again, welcome to all of you. And now I'll hand it over to Anu to take it from here.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Welcome, Shilpi, Sudhir, and Mridul. I'll moderate the panel discussion today. And those of you who are just joining in, my name is Anu, and I work with the Firki team in the School Leaders and Teacher Coaches vertical. Really excited to be here and begin this panel discussion with this amazing group of school leaders. So let's just jump right into it. So I think the first thing I want all of you to share is a little bit about your school. So share like what is the name of the school, where is it located, and what makes it unique and special. So Sudhir, we'll start with you. Like just tell us a little bit about your school.
Thank you, Anu. Thanks a lot. So I am Sudhir, and I'm the president of a school called Ashoka Shishu Vihara. This is located in Shankarpuram in Bangalore, which is the city center. So it's a very conservative area, and it has like 100-year-old history. There's two things that are unique to our school. One is that we've had Indira Gandhi visit us when she was running the country. So I have a bunch of photographs of our founders with her because it's a 70-year-old institution. And also Sidramaya, who's our current chief minister, his children studied here, both the children. So this is one thing a little unique is what we feel. With this, of course, the thing that I can think about is Nepali families in this area and Rajasthani families prefer our school because we're very inclusive. So that's a bit about us.
Thanks for sharing. That's really, really interesting. Over to you, Mridul. Go ahead and share a little bit about your school.
Yeah, so Prakriti was set up as an alternative school. We understand the word Prakriti as one's inner swabhav, and I think that's been our goal in really, unraveling, children's own swabhav, through practices which are reflective in nature. Our teaching practices in the classroom are essentially, driven to ask children about their inner being and essentially turn their attention to their inner being. That's the big idea with which Prakriti works as a school. And it's been a very satisfying journey since the last, actually now 13 years. Been a very satisfying journey in terms of a lot of experiments that we did that were not really very popular as such. One of them, for example, was keeping to Hindi language till grade 2, grade 3, and keeping the instruction in Hindi and also using Hindi as a first language that is taught in the school. And when NEP came, there was this whole force around native language being supported scientifically, and all of that conversation was happening. And we were sort of proud to say that we are already doing it, and breaking that notion that only when you learn to do English in your early grades, only then can you become fluent readers and writers of English language in later years. I think our children have now sort of grown to be grade 11. That's where the youngest child, the oldest child now is. And I think we have now proof of concept that it's all working. It's all coming together very well. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. That's again extremely interesting, and I would love to know more about your school. Over to you, Shilpi. Let's hear a little bit from you as well.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. So I come from St. Kabir Public School, Chandigarh, and it's a legacy school. So it's older than I am. It was, it came into being before I came into being. So that's how it is. So which means, we have this humongous responsibility to carry forward this legacy because, the school started, this was a humble beginning with just 20 students. And the school's credo, says all about us. It says, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So, that's something, it's not a buzzword in our campus. It's practically, something that, that our children, that our staff members, teachers, in fact, our executive team, everybody, practices day in and day out. In fact, after I attended this wonderful program on Firki portal, which was FSLP, Firki School Leadership Program, we've also started, practically putting our values into action. So integrity, courage, and compassion. So we have a value statement. We're already talking about how do our actions reflect. So all I'm trying to bring home is that this campus, which is 50-year-old, is working very hard to stay relevant to the times, and maintain that fine balance between the traditional and the modern. And of course, we're on it. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for sharing, Shilpi ma'am. So, Shilpi ma'am has been our alumni in almost all of our Filki programs, and she was a part of Filki School Leadership Program as well. And it was just a sorry.
Yeah. Even the coach.
Even the
Yes.
coach development program, yeah. And interestingly, we are launching the school leadership program in January again. So those of us who are watching live right now, we will roll out the application soon, and feel free to apply. Sorry for digressing there, but yeah, we go ahead and get back to the topic at hand. So now that we know a little bit about your schools, I think I would love for all of you to share why teacher professional development is really important for a teacher, and what kind of power and change can it drive for a school and its students. So, Sudhir, if you can start us off, what kind of change can a good teacher professional development program really bring in a school? What would your response be to that?
For sure. Thank you. Thanks for picking me as the first one. So I think considering the school that I'm leading, which is a 70-year-old school, we have, I would say, at least 500 teachers. And the last 25 years, we've had like 9 to 14 teachers stay back. So half of their lives they've spent in our school. So, we're definitely doing something right. So I think it's a combination of factors, of course, that one, there's vision alignment. That's a very important thing, because they'll need to be in a place where their vision aligns with the school's vision. That's for sure. Second, there has to be a collaborative approach. There has to be an empathetic approach from both parties, from the management, from the teachers, and also I think teachers over a period of time adapt themselves. It is a natural human evolution process that you adapt and you learn from the situations. And I feel that we have comforted them in the school. This is unique to our school. We have comforted them through this process of ensuring that they're happy. They're contributing. Their voices are heard. It's a very safe space. So they've stayed back. And some of them are our students as well. So they've come back to teach. So I think it's a combination of factors at our school, and I can go on about it, but I'd like to, probably give an opportunity to the other two panelists as well. This is what I think at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Would either of you like to add to that?
Yeah, I could go.
Yeah.
So I was going to say that, in terms of your question about why is it even important, I feel one of the understanding that all of us here must have is this idea of learning is empowering, and learning, enabling, and also one of the biggest motivation factors for our life, for living a purposeful life. I feel that once adults experience a learning oriented environment, once they feel that they are growing in a way, I think they're hooked in this. So I always say that learning for adults is ideally their hook, right? And if a school is able to provide that, I think you've set the right motivation and the right space for them to grow, as well as I feel. You provided them the right purpose to carry on their lives with, and I think that's what we're all sort of trying to do when we talk of teacher professional development, is that we're really giving them this safe space of finding their own purpose, and also having developing their inner growth, and that's what I think it brings so much of importance to it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think building off of that, I think next I would love to hear about what is the design philosophy that you sort of work with when you're trying to design these teacher professional development programs for your teachers. Like, what is the strategy behind it? What are some principles or features that you keep in mind while designing some of these programs? So either it can be like steps that you undertake, or ideas, or where do you do your research, and basically, like, what is the main thing that you think about while designing some of these programs for your teachers? So yeah, anybody can take a shot at this question.
Uh, can I go
Yes,
next?
please.
Thank you. So I think when we talk specifically of TPD, it's very, very important, that we see it as a catalyst in achieving, the shared vision that we have together as adults in that particular community or that space, that what is it that we want to do for our children. And like I said, like ours is a space where we want to stay relevant and authentic to the times, the milieu that we are in, wherein everything is changing. That's at a very, very fast pace. Like in a campus like ours, there are people who've been there for 30 years, and there are people who've been there for 3 months or 3 years. So when it comes to professional development planning, I think what is important is that one size doesn't fit all. It's very important to begin with, to empower people to understand that it's valid. I mean, to intrinsically motivate them by creating a culture wherein we say that why is learning important? As a teacher, why should I learn? I mean, I get the paycheck at the end of the month, and I do my thing. I know how to do it. I've been into this trade, for 30 long years. Then, I mean, who can tell me what? I mean, I know it all. So it's very important that we give people the purpose to learn. Why should I learn is one. And what should I learn, and how do I decide? And again, designing that to be able to design a professional development program for myself. So there are two aspects of it. As a school, we come together to a consensus that all of us need to learn something like this. And two, as an individual, I validate for myself what are my learning needs. And quickly, again, we should be stepping into the shoes of a learner from a teacher. So, switching off into that mode on into that learner's mode is very, very important, because somehow, like, I mean, that's been a culture in us, in our education spaces, a culture of not learning. We've learned enough and we're teachers now. So to break that particular fallacy, I think that's something, that lies at the core of designing a program.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing, ma'am. Sudhir, Mridul, would you like to add?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead,
Mridul,
Sudhir. We'll follow.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I agree 100% with Shilpi ma'am. I'd like to add something to that we do. We have realized that making the training programs interdisciplinary has helped us, meaning that we expose the teachers to also different areas, art, culture. They go training, they do theater programs, they do acting programs, they work with different teams. We get them to work in a sort of a healthcare system, of trying to understand how low income families work in. um, and we also get them to travel a bit. So we pay for those travels, we take them out, we get them to learn history through historical places. So we also do that at our school, and I think it has helped because it kind of gives them a broad view of how different subjects are and how that adds to their personality, which they can bring into the classroom. So that's one thing that I wanted to add to what we do at ours.
Great.
Right.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Sudhir. Go ahead, Mridul.
Right. In terms of the design of the professional development program at Prakriti, we are an alternative school. I think one of the biggest drivers is the program really bringing in an inner transformation for the person concerned, right? That's so workshops are essentially defined on the basis of this one question. And then the second aspect that drives this design is also that does it enable unlearning, right? So, and that essentially translates into very subject specific uh, professional development as well. So in maths, for example, we are interested in breaking the paradigms of school education maths. We are interested in really enabling that kind of a thinking that how can fractions be taught in a different way. But it requires a lot of that unlearning, and I guess a very different approach to the subject, to have already taken place. So I think these are the two pillars of our design, that whether unlearning is happening or not, and the other is that is it leading to inner transformation for the teacher or not. So yeah, those are the driving questions for us there.
Amazing. For those of us who've been listening, please reach out to all these amazing school leaders to find out more about how they design their teacher professional development programs, because each of them spoke about very unique things, and they're so diverse in their approaches and the work that they do, that I think there's so much value in just connecting with them one on one and finding out exactly how do they go about designing it. And when you do that, you will be able to contextualize it as per your current reality, and then that, you know is the game changer, because then it becomes truly implementable. So highly recommend that you connect with all the school leaders here and find out more about how they design their TPD. Very often, we plan really well for some of these teacher professional development training spaces. But sometimes it isn't as effective as we envision it to be. Like, we imagine that, oh, it's going to be a fantastic session. We planned really well. But when we collect feedback, we somehow realize that, okay, maybe perhaps it wasn't as effective, or if we take an assessment at the end, the results don't come out as great. So I think I just want to hear a little bit about what are some challenges that you face with implementing teacher professional development, especially when there's a range of teachers from 0 years to all the way to like 40 years of experience. So what are some challenges that you are currently facing with implementing good TPD in your schools? Anybody can go ahead and share.
I can go. Or
Yeah,
yeah, you
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay. One of the obvious challenges that come to mind is, of course, teacher development programs take time to come to fruition in terms of their impact, their long run. I think the whole year has, for example, today it's December. The whole year seems to have just gone by, and this is like an yearly cycle that you're trying to invent and reinvent every year for PD, and it takes its own time to sort of seep in, and especially the kind of change that we are trying to see. One of the big areas for change for us, for example, is to how do teachers imagine themselves as facilitators in the classroom. Now that's not a matter of like a 2-day workshop, right? So it has to have its seeds sown in. Then you have to really carefully nurture it over time. And there are processes set up in school to enable that. For example, we meet every now and then to journal our thoughts and to reflect on specific prompts. So one, measuring that impact is not that easy. And two, of course, it's a very long drawn process. I think these are the two challenges that I would like to sort of highlight here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think unless and until it becomes a habit, it just doesn't turn into action and reality. If it's just a one time session and it's not followed up with continuous feedback, continuous observations, then I think it just sort of disappears, and that it's not very sticky if it is not followed up with that continuous feedback. So yeah, Sudhi, Shilpi ma'am, you guys can also add.
So the challenge, which I face time and again, is the willingness to learn, and where's the time? When do I do that? And the like. And of course, as a campus, we do try to, like, say, 2 Saturdays. Our children don't come; they have a 5-day week, and on 2 Saturdays, teachers come in, and that's when we cull out time for training and all of these sessions. So at least that now you have those 2 Saturdays, and of course you see online mode, but then a lot of those are willing learners, those who are willing to spend time beyond school hours to learn and grow. But for the more reluctant ones, the offline mode works better. But then again, I think it's more like a classroom situation where you need to do a lot to engage, because if the engagement is not high, again, if the purpose is missing, and if the training session is there, I mean, the trainees are there because they're being told to, so it's very, very difficult to also implement it, because then it becomes a forced experience and it doesn't touch their core, and they're not willing to take it forward, because they think that, oh, we're doing it because CBSE says 50 hours, and where's the choice? Like, I've witnessed people in my career, would switch on an online training, and of course, you get a certificate for the sake of certification. So I think bringing that purpose to the forefront, that why should I learn? Why should I spend some more time beyond school hours to learn? That's very, very important. And so that's where the culture of learning, or LFL, basically, the leaders have to walk the talk in the campus. So when they see the school leaders, people in the core team investing time in learning, and when they go back and talk about it and talk about the experiences, they see them implement. So that's when they get encouraged to do it. Like, otherwise, it is difficult when it comes to seeing teachers in the learning mode. It's a challenge, and it can't be denied that yes, there's paucity of time. They have homes to run. There's a lot of responsibility our people have back home too, and to squeeze that kind of time is a challenge. So I think willingness is one thing, and of course resources in terms of time and money, no denying that. So those are some of the, and the most important is implementation, that whether or not that's been taken to the real classroom space. So these are very life challenges, and I think one has to be a hardcore optimist to keep going. It's not easy.
Yeah, completely resonate with that. I think the whole debate around offline versus online, how many hours is too long or how many hours is too short, and somehow I feel like because I've run quite a few of these programs myself, I've always felt that the answers are always 50%. Like you cannot make everybody happy sometimes, like it's like everyone there will always be someone who will not be entirely satisfied with the current arrangement of timing, offline versus online travel, etc. So it's a real challenge. Thanks for sharing that, ma'am. At this point, I think in the comment section it would be interesting if folks can also share what they expect a good teacher professional development program to look like uh, from a school leader's perspective. So, if you're a teacher, what would you want to see your school leader do for you when it comes to school leadership development or teacher professional development programs? So, would love to see those responses in the chat box. And I think. Yeah, we'll hear the last response for the challenges and then we'll move ahead. Yeah.
I'd like to add something.
Yeah.
I think both Shilpi ma'am and Madhu, mentioned all of the things that they mentioned. I think one thing that I've realized over the last few years is that every academic year there can be a priority that a school can fix on how you would want the teachers to be or learn or do. So that way, the expectation is set correctly. We know the skill sets of all the teachers, and the programs can be aligned to those priorities because this is a long game. We are not looking at changing things in like 6 months, right? And like you said, Anu, 50-50%. So I think prioritize would be a good thing to look at as well if you're looking at programs.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing, Sudhir. And we're seeing some responses in the comment section for what people are saying. So, our teachers are saying that they would love to see a lot of inclusion in the TPD programs. It should be relevant to current times. Neeraj is saying that TPD almost fails in case of government teachers as they are mostly kept busy in other non-teaching work like election, census, etc. Sunanda says that we should have fellowship programs, give feed forward, give constructive feedback. These are all very, very helpful suggestions. I think for everyone to consider when they design a good TPD program. Reshma says there should be space for implementing. I think one of my biggest learnings when I was designing programs was the importance of practice. Like if the theory is not followed by practice within that short space, then it hardly ever translates into reality. Like practice is such a key important factor, and oftentimes we ask people to submit a document. So, for example, I am running a program and I'm asking somebody to submit an assignment. But then, if I don't give feedback on that assignment, why would they want to do it in the first place, right? So, I think everything that we do when it comes to a TPD program, it's got to be very mindful. We've got to offer that one-on-one support, like Shilpi ma'am said, that differentiated learning, making sure that everyone's flexibility in terms of time and availability is catered to. So thanks everyone for sharing all of these wonderful suggestions. And we're almost at the end of our discussion. So I think to close out, I just want everyone to share their response to this last question, that how can schools everywhere try to overcome some of these challenges? So, what kind of system, policy, and school level processes will be required to drive success in TPD initiatives in school? So, think government, policy, systems, processes, and even at the school level, what can anybody who's a school leader, no matter if it's a small school, a big school, starting tomorrow, what can be that small step that everybody can take to make sure that they're designing relevant teacher professional development programs for their teachers. So we'll end with that.
So I think it's very important that teachers, like even when I'm reading the chat, it says that what would you want them to design, that school leaders to design. But I think the responsibility, the ownership needs to be shifted. In terms of like teachers should be able to come forward and pronounce. So that kind of a non-threatening space, that culture, where people come out and say that this is what I want to learn, and why are you putting me in that session? I want to be here. So one is that a culture like that, which is I think that's the first step, because until unless people are intrinsically driven to learn, not much we'll not be able to make many changes, because till we keep forcing our people to do it or creating a space that everybody is supposed to be here. So that's something that's not going to work if resources are a challenge. So I think as school leaders, it's very important to probably have a team that can look at exploring what resources are available free of cost, like say Coursera or edX platforms, Firki for that matter. Then even TISX they offer a lot of programs which are free of cost, and YouTube is everywhere. So it's just this that a set of people who are more intrinsically driven to learn can probably look at researching and sharing those resources with others in the team, so that they are also able to learn. But the first step remains the same in case financial resources are a challenge, because I worked in systems where and again, it's not even a priority. For some school managements, like they might even turn around and say that why should we invest in teachers? So LFL framework works very beautifully. One can learn about it, delve a little deep into it, and implement it in letter and spirit. And I think I really want to share this. I'm sort of um,
Can you share a
I
little
think
bit
this
more, ma'am? What is the framework? Can you elaborate a bit?
LFL, Leadership for Learning for Leadership. It's called
Okay.
LFL. Yes, Learning for Leadership Framework. So
Deepika will post that in the comments so that everyone can have a look at
yes,
that.
there's a beautiful session on NCRT website on this particular this thing. In fact, NCRT, and a lot of government portals offer great programs which do not cost anything at all. So all they need is your time and commitment. That's all that they actually need. So I think so something that I wanted to share. So reading is something that we've been trying hard to bring in as a culture in a campus, because teachers who read, so that's also one form of learning and being progressive in their space. We've been talking about it very rigorously and taking a lot of actions. So about a week ago, one of our IT executives, who's in our admin team, texted to me this one of the evenings that he's read the first book of his life, and he's really regretting that why he keep thinking that reading is boring. So I think those are the kind of achievements that help you keep going. And so which means that you are moving ahead in the right direction, because of course there are days when you feel nothing is happening, and we are working very hard. Both Sudhir and Mridul have been talking about it, that it's a long haul. There's no denying that when it comes to creating that culture of learning. But if it is if the good virus is spread, nothing like that. And I think God's in heaven if we are able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for those closing remarks. Truly wonderful. Mridul, over to you.
Yeah, I think a good tweak that is required is leaders thinking that teach or leaders believing that teachers can learn. I think that's one of the biggest gaps in the way currently we think about learning and development for teachers in schools in general. And I feel that one has to sort of reinstate that belief. That is that is a tweak that I would like to sort of throw in here. Um, and then, of course, having a connection between the school leadership and the teachers in a regular and consistent way that enables reflection and learning. I think those are the starting points. Those are resource free. I mean, not resource heavy, right? All that you need is just a commitment to each other's growth. And I think when leaders are invested in their own learning, when teachers automatically become invested in their learning, and when leaders believe that teachers can learn, only then that teachers sort of believe that students can learn, and that whole circle is essentially complete. So yeah, these are the tweaks that I would like to sort of offer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mridul. Over to you, Sudhir.
So I'm all for collective growth. So what I believe is that schools have to be open to sharing their resources with other schools in the area. Although there's a lot of competition, we totally understand that. But we are very clear that we're confident that if we share resources, other teachers get better. Teachers' empowerment leads to better satisfaction in their lives. That leads to growth in children's lives. So I encourage all the schools around this area, plus the people I meet, the leaders I meet, to be more open with your feedback, your advice, your resources. Share as much as you can, and I think we all are in the same boat together, right? So we all learn, and we move forward. So the objective has to be clear. We know our objective is to ensure that low income families get good education, they have better lives. So that's, I think, something that I believe in, and that's my last
Yeah.
parting word. Yeah.
Absolutely. Embrace the power of the collective. We're all here for each other. Let's truly make the best use of this community of learners and school leaders and share as much as possible. With that, I think we come to the end of this panel discussion. Again, thank you so much, Shilpi ma'am, Sudhir, Mritul sir. Please do go ahead and check out the YouTube channel. You will see a lot of comments for all the wonderful responses that you have been sharing. People have been engaging with everything that you've been sharing in the comment section. So do go ahead and give that a read. And for our viewers, if you have any words of gratitude and if you have any takeaways from this panel discussion, please post that in the comment section. I'm sure Shilpi ma'am, Sudhi sir, Mritul sir would love to read words of gratitude from all of you. So go ahead and share some of those in the comment section. I can already see wonderful session. Thank yous coming up. So again, thank you so much. With that, we will move ahead to the next segment of the conference. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. All right. I'm sure that that was really inspiring. I personally took away a lot of takeaways for my work, and I'm sure that if you're a school leader or a teacher, you also got some insights into what teacher professional development um, can look like, what it can innovate into, and what we need to do to make it more effective in today's day and age. Um, Next up, we have our next innovation story. So we heard one innovation story with Aditya sir, and now it's time for another 5 minute short innovation story. Now we will hear Miss Fauzia Ansari, who's the headmistress of Anjuman Islam Begum Sharifa Kalsikar Girls English High School. So she's going to share how she's created a culture of continuous learning in her school and how she consistently monitors PPD for teachers. Fauzia is a distinguished educator with over 24 years of experience, including 15 years as a headmistress. and recognized with the state's Best Teacher Award by the government of Maharashtra, and as one of the 50 most influential principals by the World Education Congress. She also holds global teacher accreditation from the Cambridge Education Foundation, UK. Let's hear her innovation story now. Can't wait to hear how inspiring her journey has been. So, over to you, Bala. Let's
Hello everyone,
hear
I'm
Fauzia,
Fauzia
ma'am.
Ansari from Anjuman Islam. It's an honor to be here today as a spotlight speaker on this global platform to discuss a topic that is very close to my heart: continuous professional development for teachers. In my journey as an educator and mentor, I've had the privilege of implementing unique practices that foster growth, collaboration, and innovation among teachers. Today, I'll be sharing some key initiatives we've successfully implemented, hoping they resonate with you and inspire action. Why continuous professional development for teachers matter? They are the founding pillars of our school. If we want to bring about that kind of transformation that fosters innovation, collaboration, and excellence in school, I think the very first people we need to work upon are our teachers. They are the heart and soul of our school along with our students. As Aristotle has rightly said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Something that we do in our school, we call it Teachers Collaborative Time. You can call it as Teachers Learning Circle, where teachers share their expertise. Every teacher identifies one challenge or some good practice, something that has worked wonderful for her. She makes a presentation and she shares all the things that she has been doing in a presentation. After the presentation, the teachers have a Q&A session where they discuss certain good things that they have been doing on the same topic. They share their expertise together and together they learn from each other. It's a beautiful model, and I think if we do it fortnightly, it works wonders. It brings about that kind of a learning and growth culture in the school. The next thing we believe is good leaders not just create followers, they also create leaders. As school leaders, as school heads, it's very, very important for us to also empower our own teachers. So they also take a lead in their own way. Allow them that kind of freedom where we don't have to micromanage everything. Let them take up some programs, some initiatives where they take the onus of their own journey and they lead the things. It's very, very important for us as school heads to do that scaffolding process where we empower and support teachers and slowly let them take a lead in their own journey. The next thing that we do in our school is something which we call as teachers led initiatives. Every teacher has a spark within her, something that she wants to transform in a school, be it some areas of academics, be it in co academics, be it social initiatives. Allow room for the teacher to work in that particular area and support her wherever we can. And trust me, that has made a huge difference. When we allow them to have that teacher led initiative, they work closely with parents, with students, with alumni, with NGOs, with various organizations, and they have created their own beautiful small ecosystems within the school. And has brought about a huge transformation in the way the entire school has been functioning. The next thing that we do in our school is the mentorship program, where peer mentorship is not only happening within the students community but also in the teachers community, where senior teachers mentor the new teachers and take a lead in their onboarding process and support them throughout their journey. It takes at least a couple of years for the teacher, for a new teacher to be actually fully equipped with the school's ethos, cultures, norms, and this is where our senior leadership team takes a major role and works together with these teachers. It also brings about a collaborative culture. Whenever we assign any task to our teachers, we always ensure that they work together in pairs. So we pair them up with their own with their own unique expertise and skill sets. So they complement each other. And trust me, the outcome is beautiful. What we have seen is once they work together, they bring in that kind of a transformation in whatever task or responsibility we assigned to them, and it has brought about a beautiful outcome led program in the school. The next thing, variety is the spice of life. So why do we always have the meetings in the same boring, monotonous style? We can tweak the way in which we conduct meetings. So there always have to be that kind of a surprise element. So as a school leader, I make sure that there is a different style in which we conduct the meetings. So we tend to have case studies, we have videos, we have games, we have discussions. So we always keep on changing the style in which we conduct our meetings to ensure that teachers discuss a lot, they collaborate with each other, and we have a number of ideas that float across the room when we try to do meetings in such innovative manner. Teachers also feel they are responsible to bring about that change. And something that is very close to my heart and something that we do very, very religiously in our school is maintaining a self-reflection journal for every teacher. So we've empowered our teachers to capture their own journey, to capture where they are at the beginning of the academic year to where they want to be at the end of the year, and accordingly devise a roadmap. This practice of maintaining a journal is very, very important for teachers to identify their own journey, to see what are the areas they need to work upon, what are their strengths, and accordingly they can work together. And of course, as leaders, we will intervene and will give them support in their journey to reach where they aspire to be. So, all in all, if I were to conclude is, if we want to transform education, the most important thing that we need to work upon are our teachers. We need to empower them to create that kind of an ecosystem where everybody not just survives, but everybody grows together, everybody thrives. Only then the teachers will be able to empower the students and help them to excel and pursue their passions. So I would just like to conclude with a small quote that I really love a lot. Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my journey with all of you. In case if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address has been shared with you. Thank you so much once again.
Anu, you're on mute. So sorry. Anu, you're on mute. Could you please unmute?
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, technical glitches. Anyway, so thank you so much, Fauzia ma'am. That was absolutely inspiring. Learned so much about how you conduct PPD in your school. It's truly inspiring and so many takeaways for all our viewers. I now hand it over to Shruti to take us to the next part of the conference.
Thank you, Anu, and thank you, everyone. I've just been sitting and listening and also making these amazing connections that we've had since the beginning of the conference, where we just started with this global perspective, what's happening in the world, and the world is changing, and why school leaders are so important, to hearing about the role of school leaders as instructional or pedagogical leaders. And then we, through the panel that was again done beautifully with all our panelists, just understanding about the diversity of teacher professional development in different schools and in different contexts. However, something that remained at the center for me was the learner, and everybody beautifully spoke about keeping the learner at the center. And that was something that came up again when Fauzia ma'am was sharing, just empowering somebody else. And with that, we'll also move into our next session, and I would like to invite our next speaker. We have Indu Batra ma'am here with us. And just to give you a little context, at Simple Education Foundation, we work in government partner schools in Delhi and in Uttarakhand. And Indu ma'am is a school principal in one of our partner schools. And I'll change the tone here a little bit. Instead of me introducing ma'am, I would love for ma'am to introduce herself. Yeah.
Hello everyone. Hello Shruti. I'm Indu Batra. I'm principal at MCD School, Entrisden, New Delhi. And we cater to the age group of 3 plus to 10-year-old children. Primarily, we are working with SCF nowadays for our academic excellence, and we are loving that. And I'm thrilled for this panel discussion today. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Indu ma'am. And so I have personally and professionally been associated with Indu ma'am since 2021 now. And something that continuously inspires me about ma'am is just her inclusive and collaborative vision that she has for her school. And because we've heard so much about professional development now, we'll actually experience something in practice today. So today's session is going to be about human centeredness in data and how that can be used as an asset to take decisions in school. I know we talk a lot about data, and just, ma'am, for our audience to also get a little bit of context, as a school principal, I'm sure you must be coming across a lot of data. So, what is this data and how do you use this data?
yeah. On a day-to-day basis, me and my staff have to collect lots and lots of data. You know about the student attendance, then midday meal, student learning progress, and many official works also. So daily we are dealing with data. So today I'm looking forward for this discussion on data.
I'm glad that you're looking forward to the discussion. So, ma'am, with so much of data, and I know because we work so closely, there's a new message which is coming every day. This data is required or that data is required. So, what are some challenges that you and all the teachers also face when it comes to data?
Initially, it was a big challenge, a very, very big challenge. Traditionally, data in school is seen as just numbers, collected, reported, and often overlooked in terms of its transformative potential. That point is very important. But there is often a lots of data that creates stress as well. We become stressful. We think what will happen if their data will come across, the whether we will be judged or we will be interpreted in different manners. So it was very stressful for the teachers also. But with so many changes happening in the world, now dependence on data will only increase, and we can relook at the data with a different perspective, and the view is also changing about data. So now we are on better stage. Yeah, Shruti.
Yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of like our participants, audience members who've joined can also relate with this challenge that data feels stressful, even if it's not, it just feels stressful. And I'm just going to share something that I was reading that kind of came across, and also I could resonate, ma'am, with what you were sharing. Yeah, so this is something from a study, and this is a very recent study from the recent GEM report, Global Education Monitoring by UNESCO, and that also emphasized on the role of data in improving educational equity and accountability globally, not just in one part of the world, but globally, this is what is happening. And the 2023 report also highlights how integrating technology and data driven insights can address disparities in learning outcomes. So, this session will be a little bit about how we leverage this data and how the role of school leaders also ties into this. And, ma'am, anything you have to share on this?
Yeah. And this is increasing importance brings to today's session about leveraging data as a human-centered tool through data conversations. And today's session objectives you can see on the slides are from number to narratives. That is the base of our data conversation today. And we are looking at data as a tool for celebrating progress, highlighting achievements, and recognizing efforts. The next part will be from compliance to collaboration. Data is a tool for inspiration and connection. Last but not the least, from burden to vision, we are changing our view. So, data as a tool to set actionable goals that align with school vision. Yeah, Shruti.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing these. And because we've been talking so much about data orientation, and as a school leader, you bring this into practice. So, what are some things that you have also experienced while taking this practice to the teachers?
As we started with data conversation as part of SEF COE program, these data-driven conversation have become part of our school system. It's like a practice. It has become like a ritual for our school, and you have seen that also. We take support from you to bring in customized report. We interpret them. Initially, there was a bit hesitation amongst the teacher in engaging, as there was a feeling, what if data is not that impressive or is not that good? Now, when we engage in with data conversation, we feel that teachers are quite comfortable. They are looking at the number with a different perspective. And if we start with that conversation, what should we celebrate? The first look at the data, just think what all you can celebrate from that data. Then we can think about, we get the understanding how our classroom practices in a different view. Then what can we improve? So it gives reflection for our day-to-day working, and we can interpret it to the celebration and the progress is required also. So now we are working together. So I will ask you, Shruti, which led you to this intervention?
Okay, thank you for that question, ma'am. If you remember, when we started working in 2021, I was collecting data for need analysis, and we would also do a lot of classroom observations and visits. So, two things just stood out to me from that experience. One was that I am collecting so much of data, and how will the other person feel from who this data is being collected? So, I thought that this data should go back to them in some shape or form. And the other thing, and ma'am, this is something you've also seen when you do classroom visits as part of your work, that there are so many amazing practices happening in the classrooms. And I just thought that they need to be celebrated, they need to be shared with each other. Yeah, and one practice, if it's working in one classroom, maybe somebody else can also use that. So I think that was my motivation, ma'am. But yeah, thank you for also asking that question.
It was great, Shruti.
Awesome. So, with that, just to set a little bit of context, I hope our participants are getting a feel of what this space is. And as a school leader, how data is definitely a part of everyone's learning and journey. As a school leader, you have a lot of data points to deal with. There are things that the teachers also need to understand about data. And let's see how Indu ma'am sort of takes this practice back to her school. So, ma'am, are you ready for the next part of the session?
Sure, Shruti.
Great. So we'll be experiencing what a data conversation looks like and how ma'am leads that conversation in school.
Okay. It will be just an example for you to view the data conversation with Shruti. Okay, Shruti, how are you feeling today?
Ma'am, I'm feeling good, excited, but I'm a little nervous because I know we are going to look at my classroom data and I don't know what's going to come up in that.
No, no, it's okay. Just have a look on the data first. Do you remember this class? Maths number sense.
I do, I do. It's from my grade one data that I can see here. Yeah.
Yeah. Just look at it. What are you noticing, Shruti?
Ma'am, I'm surprised. Like just the difference in the data from 2023 to 24 is remarkable. I can see that so many children are meeting their grade level benchmark. Nearly 50% children are now
Yeah.
meeting their grade level benchmark in math, and yeah, that's just I'm actually quite happy to see this. Yeah.
Okay. So, what would you like to celebrate now?
Ma'am, definitely like 50% of my class children, they are meeting their benchmark. That's like wow. And also, I see that the number of students who were at the not beginner or the beginner levels have also gone down. So I would definitely like to celebrate that.
That's great. And this data interpretation is very encouraging for others also. The other teachers in your class were celebrating this. Okay, let's talk about your practices. What enabled you? What practices you were following in the classroom which enabled this data?
Yeah, so ma'am, I started using a lot of different objects like sketch pens and kidney beans or just things like that, which were easily available for our children, just to actually use those and count instead of maybe writing 1, 2, 3, 4 on the board. That's a practice that I started doing to ensure that children learn counting in a different way. Yeah, that's one thing that I can recall right now.
Do you remember you were collecting pebbles in the ground? Children were counting them. Do you remember that practices?
I did not, but thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really like that practices, and I shared with other teachers also that we can take children to the ground out of the classroom, and they can learn over there also. We don't need blackboard for everything. Yeah, I really like that practice. So, what are the areas where we can do better? Can you notice them?
Yeah. Yeah, I still feel that there is a significant number of children who still need to learn
Mm.
counting up till 20 and meet the grade level benchmark. So I definitely want to encourage and push the children at the not beginner and the beginner levels to also start meeting their grade level benchmarks out after looking at this.
Okay, Shruti. And we can work together on it. You can send few children to my office. I can spend half an hour with them on mathematical skills, or you can take them to the smart room, or you can add something into your classroom which will enable you to overcome this bit of problem. It's very small number, and we can work together to overcome it. I'm looking forward for the next observation in your class.
Ma'am, I would have been scared of an observation, but I think just the fact that you offered support to me today, saying that I can send some children to
Hmm.
you, or I can use the smart room or use different ideas. I actually feel like inviting you to every math class now. You should just come and sit there and help me out, which I know will not be possible for you, but definitely the next time we're working on counting, you should come to the class.
Sure, Shruti, sure.
Okay, we'll pause with this little glimpse of a data conversation, and this is how actually data conversation looks like in our schools. And we're going to just break this down a little and understand what went behind this data conversation. Ma'am, would you like to take this with the agenda points that you had shared here?
Yeah, you can see here from numbers to narrative. That was the first agenda for our discussion today. Which data points would you like to celebrate and why? From this data chart, we can interpret what are the points of celebration, and you can see a chart over here where celebration has been written, best practices, and then a focus area. So every time when we start with the data conversation, we start with the celebration points. So we jot them down over here, the celebration points. Then we move to the best practices of the teacher. When we do that, it enables the teacher also, and it help other teachers also who are listening or who are observing this data conversation, that what all the best practices are going into the classroom to achieve celebration points. And then we come to the focus area where we can do more work, we can do more intervention, and we can improve the level of the student. With there, we can give suggestion to each other, we can interact in a very positive mode, and we can bring in some change so that we can achieve the level of the students. So that is the first part of the today's agenda, from numbers to narratives.
Yeah, and that's
You
the
can
whole idea that, yeah, it shifts the fear of data from a narrative that can actually be celebrated. Yeah, ma'am, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just explaining the chart also. You can see the
Yeah,
data
yeah.
interpretation in different ways. So the people who are looking at it at present, they can see how creatively data has been presented in front of everyone.
Absolutely. And this whole little table that you see with celebrations, best practices, and focus areas is also a note taking device for whoever is having this data conversation. Yeah. With that, we'll move to the next point, ma'am.
Yeah, from compliance to collaboration. There you can see data conversation in action. And if you recall this conversation, there were many fear factor also among the teacher. It was the first conversation with the class 3 teachers, and we were doing that, and you were also taking observations also with me. Then I would like to share a story of hope. Initially worried about her classroom data, this educator was pleasantly surprised by her students strong engagement with English content. Together, we identified the best practices, shared them with the peers, and celebrated the efforts of other educators. So here you can see that points have been jotted down for all the subjects where all the data conversation has happened, and it was very, very enthusiastic data conversation. And Vinita was celebrating like she was saying, wow, so many children can read and write in English. She was amazed to see her children perform. It leads to the confidence of the teacher also. It builds up the confidence amongst the teacher also, that we are looking at the data with a total different perspective. Nobody is judging them. Just we are celebrating, and then we are working towards the more focused area. Yeah, Shruti.
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. I clearly remember the before and after of this conversation, where the before was, I don't know how my data will be. My classroom may not have done that well. And then, like you said, after the conversation, it was like, wow, ma'am, it also realized that her children were doing well in English. And that led to that space of her identifying the best practices. So I clearly remember, and we can see the pink handwriting, which is here. It points out like how she used blending, segmenting, CVC words, and these were certain practices that she was doing. I remember she also mentioned that she got support from another teacher to do these practices, and which takes me back to the point on collaboration, that this is not just one conversation, but also it leads to collaboration and sharing of best practices. Yeah, ma'am, this is your area of expertise now as a school leader. How have these conversations helped you to set a school vision? Yeah.
Yeah, it has greatly helped me. To tell you a fact, initially teacher took used to think about it as a burden, but it has led to development of the vision of the school. We sit together, all the staff members, all the stakeholders, we sit together, we talk about the vision of the school, and that data has given me opportunity to bring in more thoughtful conversations and to build a strong school vision which is achievable also, measurable also, like smart goals. So it has given us an opportunity to set classroom and school goals collaboratively based on identified focus area. What will some smart goals be? As you all know, what are smart goals? Specific, measurables, achievables, relatable, and time bound also. As a school principal, I reflect what will be my actions and commitment as a principal be. It gives me an opportunity to reflect on my work also, to think, and then to bring in more ideas for the teachers also. And how can I support my educator? When we have a positive interaction and a thoughtful interaction, definitely new ideas will come up. Some will be the suggestion, some will be a critical thinking also. So, data conversation leads us to a better school vision that we can achieve in a set time.
Thank you, ma'am, for bringing this perspective also. And I'm also making a connection to one of the earlier sessions that we had, where, you know, how the role of school leaders is also as pedagogical leaders. And when you know the data of a classroom, you can actually use that to set classroom goals and also build on your own practice as well. So, with that, I'll actually invite ma'am and the audience to the next part of this, and we'll actually see a live example of what has happened in ma'am's school because of these data conversations and how goals have actually been set. Yeah, ma'am, I'll invite you to share on these.
Okay. Let's talk about the place value. That is the most important topic in mathematics. So, students' learning goals were set as a class standard, class 1, 2. Student learning goals were set in different subjects. You can see on the slide there were English goals, there were Hindi goals, and the maths goals. These are the basic three subjects we take care of in class 1 and 2. So in English goals, you can see that we were thinking about that so many children can able to read and write. Shruti, can you enlarge the slides, please?
That might be a little difficult, but I can read out the goals if you would prefer that. I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah. So in
Do
English, the goals were that 40% children will be able to reach at grade level by the end of 6 months, and at least 50% children will move up by one level at the end of 6 months in English. Yeah. I'll read the Hindi and the math goals also. For Hindi, the goals that were set were that 80% children will reach their grade level in Hindi reading by the end of 6 months, and 100% students should get an opportunity to speak in the classroom in both languages. And finally, for math, the goal that was set was that all children must be proficient in place value according to their grade level by the end of 6 months, which makes a connection to the focus area that was identified in the data conversation. Ma'am, what
Yes.
happened after that? Once the focus area was identified, goals were set, and we'll take the example of math right now. What happened after that?
Then innovative practices came in, and we started with different TLMs, different practices, so that children should learn at a good pace. I will not say very fast pace, but at a reasonably good pace, and they can achieve this goal in the set framework. That if we are investing 4 periods per week on this topic, so they can achieve maximum children of the class, almost 80% of the students should achieve this level of learning place value. Here you can see different examples also, 10 set frame and the teaching aids teachers are using, and you can see the class practices. The peer learning also is going on. Then a child is working on a table, 10 set frame on himself. So it led to more innovative practices, it led to more learning, and it led to more practices coming into the classroom, and children were going out of the classroom also. So it triggers that thought that teacher would like to think out of box also. We came with the new thoughts and new practices, just not the blackboard teaching. We collaboratively worked to achieve this goal. You would like to
So
share,
that
even you had a class.
Yeah. Yeah, ma'am. I think this is just one whole example of, like, what happened in a data conversation. The focus areas were identified. On the basis of that, the goals were set. And one innovation actually led to another innovation, where this amazing practice of 10 set frames came up from. And that has been helping children to learn counting, because I keep going to schools. I see children using these and using concrete material to learn counting. So that's just a beautiful example, ma'am. Thank you for also bringing this as your practice, as your input towards teachers' development in school. One question is coming to my mind, because we've spoken a lot about student assessment data right now. Are there any other data points that you also bring to these data conversations?
Yeah, definitely. When we look on the data, we see the shift amongst the children. Every time we reflect on the previous data, then we see the present data, then we work on the future practices, you can say that. So in data conversation, there are many points which we reflect as the student performance also, and then we can relate it to the attendance data also. We definitely see the data of the attendance also. If child is present most of the month, so he will learn more effectively than the children who are more on absenteeism. So both the data can be cumulative reflection for the class achievement also. So the in data conversation, we bring in many things that collaboratively we can work towards the best and better practices in the classroom to bring in more change amongst the students. So that on data, I will see that I can see many changes in the classroom and the mindset of the teachers also.
Yeah, and like you shared beautifully, that this is just about student assessment data, but one data point can be used to also look at other data sets and make those connections. Like that might be with attendance, or we might just
Yeah.
look at a different data set altogether. If you remember, ma'am, we take these quarter surveys from our educators to get their feedback. And I remember you asked me, "Ket, what is coming up in the data? What can I do to set the school culture?" And then you also bring in appreciation. So I'm just reminded of that also right now.
That is the most important part of our data conversation, appreciation notes. And in class observation, we keep on giving appreciation notes to the teacher, and even for few students also, that it will bring in change in the classroom practices. So definitely data conversations are leading to many things. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. With that, thank you so much, ma'am. I'm going to summarize this for our participants. Like, if you had to take a data conversation framework back to your schools as school leaders or as teachers and coaches, also, this is what this framework looks like. There are four parts to it. The first is having a customized data report. Now, if you don't have that expertise, you can reach out to different people or partners who can give you a data report. The key things in that report are it should be simple, actionable, focus on the trends, and it should bring out both the highlights and the focus areas. If you remember, you would have seen that picture of the data report. It was colorful, it was easy to see. It also gave a sense of comfort to engage with data. The next part, what you experienced today between ma'am and me, was a facilitated data conversation. And if you remember, the first thing that ma'am asked me in that conversation was, how am I feeling? Building safety is a key of these conversations. Again, some of you shared on chat that data is scary at times and is used for a lot of reporting. So build safety between you and your teachers, celebrate effort and progress, and identify focus areas collaboratively. And that's something you experienced with the different questions that ma'am asked me. Then, after this conversation, data is used as a decision making tool. If you remember, we identified certain areas and practices that we wanted to work on. And for me, as an experiencer of this conversation, I did not feel threatened at all. And I didn't feel like I'm just reporting data. So it helped me to also move beyond reporting as a teacher. And for ma'am, it also helped her to set certain school goals. And the last thing, if you remember in the entire conversation, what happened was ma'am asked me, okay, what is the support that she can provide me? And she also gave a few suggestions to me. So identifying your role as a school leader in this entire framework becomes a key component of this. So, for everyone who's watching here, I'd also like for you to take 10 seconds and think if you had to take back something into your schools, into your roles, what would that one thing be? Or something that you just want to celebrate about data in your school. You might remember, like, oh, this is a data point from my school. Can I celebrate that? Yeah. And yeah, ma'am, would you like to read this out? This is something I read somewhere and it just stayed with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. Globally, data is driving equity focused education systems, but it must also inspire and connect at the local level. Just reflect on it.
Yeah, so data conversations are not just about data, they're also to deepen your relationship with your staff members, build on
Yes.
collaboration. And something that I heard in the panel was also that if school leaders feel that they can learn, then teachers will also feel confident to learn, and students will also learn in that whole cycle. And I'm also making a connection to that. So if we want students to thrive in classrooms, we should have teachers also feeling safe and wanting to thrive. And that's where the school leaders should also believe in that and bring that into practice. And ma'am, we're almost at the end of our session. I really enjoyed this conversation, even though we keep having conversations. And with that, we have a
I
closing
enjoy.
question for the audience. Ma'am, please share this question.
Sure, sure. I will like to ask everyone, I would like to ask with each and every participant who is watching it, what would change in your school if you celebrated success before addressing gaps? I would like to repeat again. What would change in your school if you celebrated success before addressing gaps? Please think over.
All right, with that question for the audience, I would like to thank Indu ma'am for joining us today. Thank you, ma'am, for
You.
this conversation. As always, I
Thank
enjoy every conversation that I have with you. And I hope the audience was able to take back things about data and think of data in an innovative, human centered way as well. So thank you so much, ma'am, once again for joining us.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, as you think about this whole data framework, there were a lot of questions. I'll invite everyone to share on chat if there's something that they would like to celebrate about data. And also, in the meantime, invite our next speaker. Yeah. So, our next speaker, due to some last minute unfortunate circumstances, Jasmeet hasn't been able to make it to the conference today. But don't worry, there is somebody from Creatnet Education who's going to join and share about how they do professional development of school leaders. So, I would like to invite the next speaker with us. Hi, Utsav, good evening, and a very warm welcome to this space.
Hello, Shruti. Thank you. Really needed your warm welcome in Shimla. Thank you for that.
Thank you for joining us today. And I wish Jasmeet was here, but it's lovely to have you here
Me too.
as well.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
Utsav is a program manager at Creatnet Education, and he's working with over 1,000 schools, right?
Yeah, over
Yes,
1100.
yes. Yeah, on the development of school leaders in Delhi. These are government school principals that we work with. And SCF and CreateNet have also been closely working together. Yeah,
Yeah.
Utsav, I will pause here. The next 5 minutes are all yours to share about CreateNet's way of working.
Yeah, thank you, Shruti. I think CreateNet's way, again, is a very integral way of connecting the inner and the outer of the leaders. We focus on connecting the being of the leader and the doing of their part. So the part to the whole and the whole to the part. And we call it a CreateNet way. Majorly, the CreateNet way stands for the three pillars: learning as a practice of reflection, action, and silence; leading as a practice of facilitating that learning and creating the trust and the hope among the leaders; and organizing as an interconnection of learning and leadership in the small groups. And these small groups are of the volunteer leaders who take it towards the larger. So that is why I told it is a part and a whole, and the inner and the outer. And we really believe that this change has to be led by the people in the system. It shouldn't come from outside. It shouldn't be implanted from outside, because then it won't be sustainable, it won't be intrinsic. And hence, CreateNet really believes in creating this change from within the system and then sustaining it to the people. Um, Again, a very important question: that why focus on school leadership, the leadership of this of these principals, school leaders. I think we have enough practices for developing 21st century skills for our students. We are also working a lot on teachers, but I think the expectations are truly high from principals, and hence it is very important that we work on leadership development of principals and we really strengthen them so that it trickles down to the students. Because I was hearing to the last speaker, and ma'am, uh, very nicely, when you and man were discussing, and you told that if school leaders can learn, then that learning can trickle down, it goes towards the teachers and the students and become the culture of the school. um, I think this is how we operate. We focus majorly on the four types of leadership. These principles has to lead school for better and the improved student outcomes, student growth. So it always starts with the self. We say that the self of the leader, of that principal, has to be very strong, and they should focus on the self development. The leadership comes from within, and then we move towards taking it to the operational, the role that they are playing as a school leader, as a HOS, or the principal. So then we focus a lot on their operational leadership, things that they should be practicing in their role that they're doing. And then pedagogical, because we heard ma'am also that as a school leader it is very important that pedagogy, the instructional leadership, should be high. And then finally it goes towards the systemic leadership. So it is a flow, it is a progress that goes on from self to operational, the role, the pedagogy, and the systemic um, leadership. So this is how CreateNet works with the principles. But I think I would also take some time to um, explain a little bit about how this whole program works. So as I told, the first and the most important part is, and the best part is, it is a volunteer program. These principals have volunteered to be a part of this whole program, and they chose to be the leaders. They chose to be the torch bearer of this change that we are really trying to bring in. And again, goes into 5 steps. It starts with the outreach. We reach out to principals, we spread out words, and I think working for past like more than decade, it has been a very strong impact on the teachers, on the principals and their schools. So the outreach goes on, and then they go through a very rigorous selection process. Um, and this selection process, again, designed and executed by Creatnet, gives us the leaders, the facilitators that we say. So we call them facilitators because we believe in the practice of facilitation, because since it is a facilitation, it will lead to a sustainable longer change in that whole system. So once that selection goes on and we get the facilitators, we move towards the facilitator development, where we provide them trainings, we provide them learning opportunities, the on-site, the off-site, and all of these training programs and all of these learning opportunities are designed by the Creatnet team. And again, we have facilitator developers, the retired principals with immense experience, with great experience that they bring in from the system only, from the work that they have done, as as the mentors of these facilitators, and hence we call them facilitator developers. So these facilitator developers and Creatnet works on the training program, upskilling the new facilitators, and finally they move into their clusters. So clusters are generally a small groups of school principals in a number of 10 to 12 on an average, and it focuses a lot on community learning. So Creatnet, again, as I told, it believe in the concept of part and a whole, and the whole and the part. So once these parts, these small groups start to work together, called as clusters, and these sessions happen monthly. So we focus on creating, or we really try to create monthly sessions for them where they come together as small groups led by these facilitators, and they share experiences, they share their ideas, thoughts, generate amazing plans for their schools, and then they take back all of these plans to their school. I think, again, as I told, that we focus a lot on facilitation, because like just providing things to them and providing answers might work for a shorter period of time, but I think taking it forward for a very long might not be possible. And hence the concept of facilitation, the practice of facilitation comes in, where they are enabling their own peer. This is a peer learning system going on. So they enable their own peers through facilitation and help them search for answers, search for solutions to the problems or the goals that they are working on, rather than providing it to them. So yeah, and I think this is the core competency that they develop, and the best part that they find, that our facilitators find in this whole program, that they get enabled and empowered, and they can take all these learning anywhere in their life, personal, professional, everywhere. And this works really well. Yeah, Shruti.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Utsav, for sharing this. What I heard in this, in three things that just stayed with me, is that movement from inner being to the outer being. Then the whole
Yeah.
focus on the role of school principals or school leaders as facilitators and just enabling learning for themselves and for others. And the last thing that stayed with me was just building a learning community, learning from principals with principals, and then taking that learning to more principals. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. Thank you for sharing with us just how an organization also looks at the professional development of school leaders. We've been talking about school leaders all being the drivers of change and enabling teachers' professional development, but it also came up that they need to be learners and this is a good
Indeed.
insight into understanding how that can look like for them. Thank you so much for joining us today. And with that, I'll invite Anu. Yeah, Utsav, you were saying something. Yeah, with that, I'll invite Anu to take it to the next session.
Yeah, thanks, Shruti. Yeah, so one of the very important tasks of a school leader is to actually create a culture of well-being in their schools, and to help some of us spark that thought of how to create this culture of teacher well-being. We have Akanksha Agarwal, who's going to share innovations in creating a culture of teacher well-being in schools for us. So Akanksha is an experienced educator with 6+ years in the education sector and an MEd in psychology of education from the University of Manchester. She has worked with Teach for India, Dream a Dream, and the government of Rajasthan. Her work spans learning experience design, facilitation, research, and advocacy, with a strong focus on teacher well being and social emotional learning. Welcome, Akanksha. We're all extremely excited to hear more about your experiences and your work on creating a culture of well-being in schools. Really looking forward to hear more from you. Over to you.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you, Firki and SCF, for this wonderful opportunity. I'll just share my screen. Great. I hope this is visible to everyone. So hi everyone. Today I'll talk about the role of school leaders in cultivating a culture of teacher well-being. Before I start, I just want all of you to reflect on one question. What one word comes to your mind when you hear the word teacher? You can silently reflect, or you can post the word on the chat box. Mentor, guide, okay, respect, teaching, okay. I'll take one more. Facilitator, life maker. Great. So these are some words pathfinder, which is similar to what I'm showing on screen, which is how does society see teachers? We see teachers as superheroes who are motivating, who are inspiring, who are dedicating their entire life to build a generation, to guide our students, to guide our children into a better life, to become good human beings, right? But what we often overlook is also the flip side of the story. A teacher has more responsibilities beyond the classroom, and I would want you all to think about what is the other side of the story of a teacher's life. For example, some of the teachers I've worked with, they've told me that they not only have to teach but also stand for long working hours. They have to check the exam papers, do the data entry, do the data analysis. Based on the data analysis, then curate the lesson planning. They also have to substitute when a teacher is absent. They have to conduct parent teacher meetings. They have to deal with the emotional problems of a child. They have to do attendance tracking, counseling, and the list could go on and on and on. So, as a result, what happens to our teachers? There are stark statistics which talk about that 1 in 4 teachers report significant health aspects. Teachers feel overwhelmed, teachers feel burnt out, teachers feel stressed. And imagine an individual who's feeling so overwhelmed going to their workplace every day. Do you think they will be able to give their 100%? That is what most of our teachers faced every day. As a result, if you think of an individual teacher, it impacts the life of the child the teacher is teaching and the personal life of the teacher. So I'd like to pause here and ask one question, that we expect our teachers to take care of our children, but who is taking care of our teachers? So I would like to start by talking about what are some benefits of teacher well-being. What happens when we focus on teacher well-being? Imagine a teacher who's going to the classroom, she's teaching every day. There is the one child in the class she's unable to reach. The teacher might come back home and still feel like, hey, I am not good enough. Hey, no matter what I do, I am not a good teacher. That affects the mindset of a teacher. That makes the teacher feel like they are not good enough. But if it is a teacher well-being intervention for them, the teacher can feel motivated, the teacher can feel energized, the teacher can feel empowered and engaged to come into the classroom and then be present as a more confident individual. The teacher might operate from a I don't know how to reach that child yet mindset instead of I don't know how to teach anymore. So, how can we as leaders help our teachers thrive? Can we look at some actionable strategies and what is the role of a school leader? A school leader is someone who's present in the school, who is the link between the parents, who is the link between the teachers and the students. Your actions can set the tone for the culture and support needed. So you can connect the parents, the teachers to foster a supportive school culture. You can have a healthy communication system with all the stakeholders involved to not only boost teacher well-being but also integrate it at all different levels of the school system. Another role that you can play is identifying what are the strengths of the teachers, what are the areas of development, and then create the support plans accordingly for a teacher. In India, currently, there are a number of school leaders and organizations focusing on integrating well being in the culture. Let's explore 4 case studies. Starting with Akanksha Foundation, this is an organization primarily headquartered in Pune and Bombay. So they have focused on integrating teacher well-being in their culture. A problem that they saw was that teachers need to feel heard, seen, and appreciated. As a result, they started integrating it into the school culture and creating dedicated spaces for it. 4 strategies that they involved was a dedicated teacher committee for the events. For example, on informal Saturdays, they had fun activity days, they had feedback spaces, they had team working activities. All of this created a community for the teachers, helped them connect with each other, and made them feel acknowledged and appreciated. Third, an important personal and professional boundary they set was there will be no emails and messages after 5 p.m. unless extremely urgent. What this does is that it helps the teacher disconnect from the professional life and connect with her personal life to work on the things they would like to do individually. Another thing that they did was integrate celebration into the culture. So if a school leader or if another teacher saw a teacher make progress or do something innovative, they ensure to celebrate it, whether at the end of the day, whether at team meetings, whether at informal settings. As a result, teachers went from feeling like they are not doing enough or from comparing themselves to other teachers to feeling like they have their own strengths and celebrating themselves on a regular basis. A second organization is Teacher Foundation. This organization is primarily based in Bangalore and works with different government schools. They noticed that teachers faced high levels of stress in large under-resourced schools because of numerous reasons such as teacher-pupil ratio, crowded classrooms, lack of resources. So they realized that they need to create a safe and emotionally sensitive environment for the teacher in the school. So they started creating SEL based workshops and peer support systems. How did they do that? they incorporated something called a quality circle time, which is Jenny Mosley's whole school framework. Quality circle time is basically a facilitator sitting in a circle with a group of participants. In this case, the participant's teacher, to create a emotionally safe circle where the teachers communicate, share their problems, share their struggles, share what they need to feel better in the classroom. What this does, it a makes the teacher feel like they are not alone in this struggle. There are more teachers like them. Two, it helps the teacher create a support system for themselves. If there are two people sitting and talking about their problems, there is a probability that they might start to help each other. And third, most importantly, it gives teachers a space to vent. It tells teachers that, hey, here is a space where your role is to not teach, your role is to learn, and your role is to seek support. So that reduces the level of stress for teachers. The third organization is AKIA PDI. This is an organization based in Bangalore. A problem they saw was that teachers usually spend 5 to 10 years or more than that actually in their journey. What happens is sometimes they don't know where their professional journey is going, from a teacher to a senior teacher to a staff member, yes, but are they able to upscale themselves, say with AI, say with using Google Documents, say with data analysis, Excel sheets? That is where teachers felt an imposter syndrome. So they decided to build a community for professional and personal development, to build a compassionate and engaged community. So three practices that EKIA follows is: number one, a well-being team to conduct sessions for our educators. A simple question here is, there are social emotional learning interventions taking place across India. Who is the implementer? Our teacher. But if I pause and ask you a question, are our teachers really equipped with the SEL skills of emotional resilience, of emotional regulation, of stress management, to be able to teach these skills to our children? So if our teachers themselves are not feeling happy in the classroom, how can they teach our kids to feel happy? EKIA focuses on this and teaches our teachers these emotional skills necessary for them. A second practice they follow in their own meetings and interactions, both internally and externally, is the social, emotional, ethical learning practices. A third and very important practice they follow is that the courses are designed according to the schedule of the teachers. So instead of telling the teacher that, hey, this is the timing, this is the day, and this is the duration you need to be there, EKIA makes asynchronous resources as well, where teachers can choose according to their busy schedule when and how they want to access the resources at their own pace at any time. A third organization is people primarily working in Madhya Pradesh. They noticed that a lot of teachers faced professional and personal challenges that impacted their well-being, which led to a lot of burnout and disengagement. So they adopted something called a comprehensive well-being approach. How did they do this? Number one, they had weekly team meetings to address these issues. So teachers met with the people team, with each other, to develop an open feedback system. Instead of having a top to bottom or a bottom to top, they had a horizontal communication system. Second, they also had something called monthly HR visits. So instead of asking teachers to come to a certain space, the team themselves visits the school and provides personalized support and addresses the professional concerns that teacher has. Third, they partnered with a mental well-being organization. They ensure that every teacher has access to a therapist where they can discuss their personal and professional stress. So I'll pause here and ask that, based on these 4 case studies, what is one step you can take next week to support the teachers in your school? Anything. It could be a quick check-in or a morning meeting or say a suggestion box, whatever you have in mind. understand teachers' need for open spaces to share feedback. Great. I'll take two more. To participate in class. Okay. One-to-one talk. Great. So there are a number of strategies you can take. With here I'll close. I just want to leave with one statement that at the end of every week, can you ask that have you taken a step towards supporting your teachers, towards taking care of them? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akanksha, for that wonderful talk. So many interesting takeaways for our audience to just take back to their work. Um, Shruti, you can go ahead and add something that stood out to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I love the, again, powerful question at the end for all our school leaders. Like, what is that one thing that you can do next week onwards? So actionable, so simple, but yeah, just very inspiring. Just staying with that for now. Thank you so much, Akanksha, for that.
Thank
And I
you. Thank you, Shruti.
really,
Thank you.
yeah, and I really like the part about just having that balance of your personal time and professional time, and making sure that you have enough time on your plate for hobbies and things that interest
Yeah.
you and you like doing. So yeah, thank you, Kanksha, for all of that. Um, Great. With that, we actually have come to the close closure of the conference, and if we can present the slide. Great. Thank you so much. So we're at the end of this 3 hour space, and Shruti and I thought that we will end it by answering either one of these questions. So think of a moment from today that sparked an aha moment for you, or you think about one action that you were inspired to take as a result of today's conference. So when you go back to your schools tomorrow, what is one thing that you want to commit to doing? Or you can share something that sparked an aha moment for you. So share your responses in the comment section, and we will read them for everybody. Meanwhile, Shruti, why don't you go ahead and share what's on your mind right now?
Yeah, I have a lot of things on my mind right now. It's very difficult to also pick one thing. I think I'm going to share a couple of things that stayed with me. One was definitely Aditya sir's question on the role of pedagogical leaders, and that powerful question that he left the whole space with. And I was like, wow, what is this question? And if school leaders or even as coaches, people can imagine their role as instructional leads or pedagogical leads, that might be a shift in narrative. That's one thing that has just stayed with me. Um, like I shared with Akanksha, I think I'm all about questions, and these powerful questions have stayed with me. Akanksha's question towards the end. One more thing that's also staying with me is that through the entire conference, there is so much of focus on learning and the learner. That's something I mentioned in between as well, and how the conference just took shape of understanding why school leadership. We started with like a global perspective from Kaisa, and then it went on to how school leaders are enabling professional development for teachers in their respective schools. And I heard so many diverse perspectives from Mridul, Sudhir, and Shilpi. And then it also went on to the development of school leaders themselves. That to be able to do that for others, they also need to be learners themselves. And that's just stayed with me. Yeah, I'm going to pause here. Anu, what about you? Is there something that's staying with you? Any aha moment that you had? Yeah.
Yeah. I think really found the data session to be extremely inspiring. I think just celebrating data highlights, and rooting everything in evidence, and making sure that all the strategies and all the plans that we design are more data driven. I think that's something that's definitely staying back with me. I also really liked the panel discussion, and how all the three school leaders came from such diverse schools, such diverse backgrounds, but they spoke a common language, and the challenges that they face are similar. And I've heard similar stories from so many other school leaders that I've interacted with in the past, and what I'm seeing is that there is a lot more awareness now about this need for teacher professional development to be more innovative, evolve to a more personalized and differentiated approach, for there to be one mentoring spaces for teachers to really get the coaching and mentoring that they deserve. So I think I'm just really thinking about how do we make that vision come alive in every single school, where all the teachers get the differentiated support that they deserve, and make the necessary growth in their professional careers, and achieve all of their aspirations and dreams that they have. So that's what I'm sitting with right now. We
Yeah,
have
and
some.
I'm seeing the chat also. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of like gratitude that's coming our way. There's also things about practices like circle time that people want to take back, the data exchange framework. So I think like the conference has definitely added a lot of value to everyone here. Yeah. And just I
Yeah.
also want to just thank all the speakers who were here with us today.
Yeah, huge,
Yeah.
huge gratitude to
Yeah.
every single speaker for sharing their time, expertise with us. We've learned immensely from all of you, and also a huge amount of gratitude to all our viewers who've joined in for 3 hours. Day one, day two, day three. Some of you have been here for all 3 days. Thank you so much for being a part of Eduverse. It was absolutely a pleasure to design the conference and to see it in implementation. Lots of highs for me personally. Just fantastic to see what collective action can sort of create, because FIRCI and SCF worked on this together, and our teams thought about it collectively. So I'm also thinking about how much we can do together, and alone we can only go so far. So I'm just leaving with that thought of collaboration, and making sure that I reach out to more people, and do more with all the brilliant minds that are around me. With that, I'd like to actually welcome Ellie to close out the 3 days for us quickly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I think just for me, this closing is going to be just thanking everybody. We deeply appreciate you spending time with us, learning together for the last 3 days. We had around 450 plus educators coming together and learn over the last 3 days, with all the different things happening, right? In work, life, after work, a lot of things happening at home. Still, we managed to find time to learn. That's something that we need to deeply appreciate about ourselves. We also have some educators who attended the conference on most of the days. Vijay ma'am, Shivam sir, Asina ma'am, Subbalakshmi ma'am, many other educators too. Thank you so much, everybody, from the bottom of our hearts. We from FIRCI team and FCS team would like to thank you once again. The amazing set of speakers we had over the last 3 days. No words will fulfill our gratitude for them. Their wealth of experience, knowledge opened our minds and hearts to diverse learning topics over the last 3 days, be it technology, neuroscience, reality, vision, or even well being, some amazing case studies, even launching the collective and the white paper. All of them enabled us to take away solid learnings back to our work. FIRCI team and SCF team again wish to thank all of them for their words of wisdom. Last but not the least, the team at Simple Education Foundation and FIRCI who made this happen. Around 19 hearts and 19 minds. We worked endless hours to make this happen, to prepare for this. I would like to thank everybody in both teams here for making this happen and working together, keeping the purpose and vision of this conference in the center, for always challenging and questioning each other with a lot of love and care. Looking forward to a lot more spaces and ventures where we get to create more sparks in this education sector. So thanking everybody from the bottom of our heart. Thank you everyone once again. Wishing all of you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year once again in advance. We have a networking space right now. The Zoom link for that will be shared on YouTube chat right now. Looking forward to seeing many of you there. Would love to talk to you about how the conference was for you. Even hearing some feedback from you actually, like how was it hearing directly from you? Anything that can be done better if you do it next time. And even for you to talk to each other, right? Just after a conference, to stay back and talk to each other for our Chai Pe Charcha. Over to you. Thank you so much, everybody.